Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks, bringing you your weekly Bitcoin analysis for the week of Monday, December 22nd, 2025. Weekly chart, same weekly chart throughout. This one goes back, oh boy, almost 10 years, really. June of 16, 9.5 years anyway. So to backtrack just a little bit, it was over a year ago that we settled for the first time above this 5-year rising channel top that did spark a rally unto itself. We collapsed back with the tariff talk earlier this year. Stock market did as well. And we retested this channel top that is now at 86,625. We tested it significantly, but we never closed back below it, which kept us in the framework of still long above this formation, still anticipating our next long-term resistance at 122,433, which we did test for the first time in July and again as most recently as last October. There's been a lot of play up here. A minus B plus A. You take the 21 high, you subtract from it the 22 low, then you add it back to the 21 high. I call it the full swing. It's the market reaches balance, at this point. And it is an exhaustion point, technically, for just about any market, especially longer term. Now, the question is whether this is a long-term high or not. And, I say the answer to that, well, at least into later 26, if we were over the coming weeks to close below this rising 2-year channel bottom at 83,531. So this 122,433, are we going to retest it? The answer for me anyway is yes, probably by the middle of 26 again, as long as we hold above this 2-year channel bottom at 83,531. This structure held the lows beautifully back in November. And we can, while we've been consolidating for the last month and a half or so, we can push higher as we move into Q1, Q2 of 26. By the middle of 26, 122,433 in reach again. There's also still this 5-year channel top at 86,625. You could call this a range of support. If we close below 83,531, then yes, in hindsight, this will look like a longer-term high that could play out through 26, perhaps. I'll get to all that in a moment. But let's, given the fact that we're above 83,531, take a look at the upside resistance levels. And they're really horizontal and static at this point in time. You've got 95,945. That is the high of the low that was put out the week of November 17th. Holding above 83,531 will keep 95,945 in reach. This is a level that could contain weekly highs. From here, we could fall back to 83,531 within several weeks and fill this wedge out potentially through the month of January. But after testing 2-year channel support, closing above 95,945 does set off follow-through strength. Within a couple of weeks, I would expect this 50% upside retracement at 103,415. That is 50% back from the October high against that more recent November low. I think this is just a hesitation point. Truly, if we close above 95,945, I would expect 113,105 within 2 to 3 months at the most. And I do think closing above 95,945 is the signal back to this 122,433. It would look something like this, 95,009. Sorry about that. 95. Let's get back there. Come on now. All right. 95,945 is a pivot point. 95,945. There you are. If we close above it, I do think everything shifts into a more decisive bullish framework as we move through the first quarter. By the end of the first quarter, I would expect a retest of 122,433. It's also worth mentioning, do I show it here? No, I do not. I show it here. It's also worth mentioning that holding above 83,531 does maintain this 2-year bullish framework and allows, by some point later 26, 134,603, the 2-year channel top. And so we can rotate out of here, and by the end of 26 or by the third quarter, I don't know, the timing is almost impossible, we can reach into the 130s and climbing. So we are still in this clear bullish 2-year framework above 83,531. Downside, if we were to close this week below 83,351, we should, within 1 to 3 weeks, test this trend line at 77,470. I present this really for the 2 to 3, 3 to 5 week swing traders. But in terms of where do we ultimately head if we close below 83,351, I say it's this 8-year channel bottom at 56,080. And this is where, when I ask that question, is the testing of this 122,433 a long-term high or not? And the answer for me is yes. If we close below 83,351, we spend another 2 to 3 months continuing to erode to this 56,080 formation. This is an 8-year channel structure. I believe it represents the sort of a backstop for Bitcoin as we move through the rest of the decade. It is still a relevant speculative instrument longer term above 56,080. If we take this formation out in the coming months, and I don't expect it, but if we did, I think Bitcoin just sort of fades as a tradable speculative instrument. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that because the odds are weak for that to occur, at least this year. Holding above 83,351. If you're long Bitcoin, stay long Bitcoin. If we close below 83,351, just know that within 2 to 3 months, we can find ourselves in the mid to upper 50,000 region, and I think we probably would. I think that pretty much rounds it out. I am going to leave it at that for this week's Bitcoin analysis. You have a great week.